Hi everyone, I am Dr. APALA MISHRA and welcome back to this new session where we would take up all the doubts related to the personality test and all the frequently asked questions about it. So I had got a lot of DMs on Instagram about the particular doubts about interview, and I have compiled those doubts into 10 odd questions, and let's begin discussing. So the first question here is that can your personality be changed? तो इसका एक बहुत बेसिक आंसर ये है कि आपको अपनी पर्सनैलिटी चेंज करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है इंटरव्यू के लिए, बट डेफिनेटली देर आर अ फ्यू थिंग्स विच यू कैन ऐड ऑन टू योर पर्सनैलिटी और विच यू कैन इम्प्रूव इन योर पर्सनैलिटी. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, in the 1 month or 2 months time that you're given for your interview, one thing that you can do is that आप calmness inculcate कर सकते हैं अपने अंदर, and that you can achieve by either meditating or by playing any sport or coming out of your very anxious zone by any way possible. One more thing is that, for example, मेरे साथ ऐसा हुआ था कि मेरी personality में एक major impediment I'd say ये था कि I was very hesitant in speaking to people. So to get out of that hesitation, I started speaking to more people. I joined Telegram, or before interview I was not on Telegram, मतलब not on any group or anything, but I joined that group and I started messaging, I started texting people so that I can come out of my comfort zone and be more comfortable in speaking, because I used to be a very shy kid. So, and also I met a lot of people during this time, friends, family, everyone, so that I could meet and speak people and come out of that isolation or that cocoon that I had built around myself. और चीज़ें अपनी पर्सनैलिटी में आप ये इम्प्रूव कर सकते हैं कि आप थोड़ा ध्यान दे सकते हैं. इफ़ यू आर स्पीकिंग वेरी फास्ट और इफ़ यू आर स्पीकिंग वेरी स्लो और एनीथिंग लाइक दैट, आई थिंक उस प्रैक्टिस को इनकलकेट कर सकते हैं आप इंटरव्यू प्रिपरेशन वाली फेज़ में, सो दैट आप जब भी बोले वो एक ऑप्टिमल पेस पे हो और सामने सुनने वाले को बहुत अच्छा लगे. सो द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज इंग्लिश फ्लुएंसी. इज इंग्लिश फ्लुएंसी गुड और कैन वी गिव द इंटरव्यू इन हिंदी? सो आई थिंक फर्स्टली यू कैन गिव द इंटरव्यू इन एनी लैंग्वेज यू कंफर्टेबल इन. आप हिंदी में भी दे सकते हैं, आप इंग्लिश में भी दे सकते हैं, आपको मेंशन करना होगा बस. The second thing is that being extremely fluent in English is not any criteria for interview marks evaluation. आप अंततः आपको लगना चाहिए, जो इंटरव्यूअर हैं उनको लगना चाहिए कि आप एक बहुत ही थिंकिंग पर्सनैलिटी हैं. यू कम फ्रॉम अ वेरी थाटफुल प्लेस एंड दैट यू हैव रिच थिंग्स टू से, रिच कंटेंट, एंड योर वे ऑफ स्पीकिंग शुड बी हम्बल एंड पोलाइट. आई थिंक इस सब में फ्लुएंसी ऑफ द लैंग्वेज डज नॉट प्ले अ रोल. डेफिनेटली अगर आपको बहुत ज़्यादा स्टैमरिंग करने की आदत है या बहुत बड़े गैप्स या बहुत ज़्यादा बोलने की आदत है, तो आप उन छोटी छोटी चीज़ों पे वर्क कर सकते हैं जिससे कि एक फ्लो बने और एक थोड़ा स्मूथनेस बने. बट आई थिंक लैंग्वेज इम्पेडिमेंट्स आर नो क्राइटेरिया फॉर इवैल्यूएशन ऑफ मार्क्स इन इंटरव्यू. ओके, द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज वन मंत्रा फॉर गुड मार्क्स इन इंटरव्यू. So I think I'd say one mantra would be calmness, because अगर आप calmly बोलेंगे, calmly बात करेंगे, तो जो पूरा ambience होता है वो बहुत ही smooth और calm बन जाता है, and you also show yourself as someone who is worthy of being an officer, because आप stressful situation में भी calm हैं. And definitely ऐसा नहीं है कि जो लोग calm दिखते हैं वो अंदर से भी उतने calm होते हैं. इनसाइड यू माइट बी हैविंग अ लॉट ऑफ एंजाइटी, बट आपको ये ध्यान रखना है कि जब भी आप बात करें, जब भी आप बोलें, तो आप उस एंजाइटी को ट्रांसफ़र नहीं कर रहे हो सामने वाले को. यू हैव टू हैव दैट कामनेस और पोलाइटनेस इन योर वॉइस. द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज हाउ लॉन्ग टू प्रिपेयर. सो आई थिंक फॉर इंटरव्यू आई पर्सनली प्रिपेयर्ड फॉर 3 months बिकॉज वी हैड एक्स्ट्रा टाइम, क्योंकि कोविड पैंडमिक आ गया था एंड इंटरव्यूज वर पोस्टपोन्ड. However, I think 1 to 2 months should be sufficient for interview preparation. The main task at hand should be to complete your DAF and also read the current affairs. Notes making important or not? So I'd say for interview preparation, note making is important, and for me I think it worked really well because हर चीज़ मेरे दिमाग में बहुत अच्छे से organize हो गई थी. Every part of my DAF I had dealt with in a very organized manner, and there was I think hardly any area that I left. So note making helped me in the interview preparation. डेफिनेटली मैं नोट मेकिंग की बहुत बड़ी प्रोपोनेंट नहीं हूँ, जैसा कि आपको पता होगा. So I did not make any proper notes for GS or for prelims or any other thing. But interview was one stage जिसके मैंने dedicatedly notes बनाए थे, and those notes also I am uploading on my Telegram channel one by one. How to improve presentation? So I'd say for presentation in the interview, all you have to do is that be very confident and थोड़ा सा ध्यान रखें कि आप जब इंटर कर रहे हैं आप विश कर रहे हैं या नहीं कर रहे हैं. You should enter like an officer, answer like an officer and leave like an officer. तो इस चीज़ का आप थोड़ा ध्यान रखिए. अपने मॉक इंटरव्यूज़ में वीडियो देखिए कि आप जैसे आ रहे हैं, जैसे बैठ रहे हैं, इफ़ यू आर स्लाउचिंग और इफ़ यू आर अप टाइट, एंड आप बहुत फिजिट नहीं कर रहे हैं, and you're like neat and tidy. I think that is all that matters. How many mocks to give? So I think about mocks, I'd say 3 to 4 mock interviews are good enough. And don't go very overboard by giving mock interviews, because at times mock interviews might demoralize you, and a lot of things are going on in the market. For example, grilling of students and making very tricky questions or very difficult questions and then grilling the students. But I think that is not the case in the main interview. The main interview is really cordial, really mature, and it has a really good atmosphere. So I think mocks का purpose होना चाहिए practice. एंड अगर आपको बहुत ज़्यादा क्रिटिसिज्म मिल रहा है कहीं से तो प्लीज़ डीमोरलाइज मत होइए. फॉर मी आई थिंक आई टुक 4 ऑफलाइन मॉक्स, एंड आई डिड प्लान टू टेक 1-2 more, but my first mock, the first mock interview I ever gave was very very bad. It was so horrible, and it just shattered my confidence. Although I think I personally thought that I did well, but the board did not think so, and so it had a very negative impact on me. However, the last mock that I gave was a very very good mock, and that was a one-on-one session with Ravindran sir. और वो मॉक एक बहुत अच्छे नोट पे एंड हुआ था. उस मॉक के लास्ट में सर सेड दैट अपाला यू विल गेट द हाईएस्ट मार्क्स इन द इंटरव्यू, एंड he was very very confident about me scoring very good marks in the interview. So that gave me also confidence, and I came back and I decided that I will not give any more mocks. So I stopped at 4 mocks. But you can give any number of mocks that you want. I would personally suggest to not go very overboard with it. The next question is that, are questions very tricky in the interview? So no, the questions are not very tricky. They do ask certain questions about which you'll really have to think, like you can answer them only if you've thought about it. Those can be about current affairs also, about your optional also. For example, I was asked about my optional certain questions which I would have never thought. For example, one question that was asked to me was that there is linguistic pluralism in India. So on the same lines, should there be legal pluralism in India? And that was something that I was hearing for the first time, and I had to really think to answer that. But I think जितने भी ये thoughtful questions होते हैं, thought provoking questions होते हैं, those are much better for the interview because you get an opportunity to express yourself well. Now the thing is how to dress up for the interview. You can dress up formally. There is no big taboo on what to wear and what not to wear. It should just be formal, neat and tidy. For girls, I think I wore a sari, but I think you can wear a suit also, salwar suit also. But I would say sari looks more formal. But if you're uncomfortable in a sari or you don't feel confident in a sari, then you can wear a salwar suit also. And for boys, I think the formal tie, coat, shirt is that is what it is. So apart from that, I think you should not look extremely shabby, or you should not look extremely casual. It should not be like you're wearing a lot of jewelry and you've come for a shadi party. It should look like an officer is entering, and an officer who's going to administer parts of the country. So you should look like that, because first impressions do matter. Now the next question is, do boards matter? So I say no, boards do not matter. For myself, I had not looked at any board members' credentials or anything about that board, क्योंकि एक बार हम बोर्ड के बारे में पढ़ने लग जाते हैं तो प्री कंसीव नोशंस हो जाते हैं विच माइट अफेक्ट आवर परफॉर्मेंस. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अगर हमें ऐसा बोर्ड मिल गया जो हमें नहीं चाहिए हो, तो शायद हमारा परफॉर्मेंस थोड़ा ख़राब हो जाए, या ऐसा बोर्ड मिल गया जो हमें चाहिए हो तो शायद हम थोड़ा ओवर कॉन्फिडेंट हो जाएं. So I did not look at any boards, and I think all the boards give good marks also and give bad marks also. तो आप बोर्ड्स वगैरह पे ध्यान मत दीजिए, आप बस अपने परफॉर्मेंस पे ध्यान दीजिए. ओके, नाउ द लास्ट टू क्वेश्चंस आर, डू आई नीड टू रीड GS फॉर इंटरव्यू? So I think some bit of GS needs to be revised for interview, because बहुत ही बेसिक क्वेश्चंस आपसे पूछे जा सकते हैं जो GS रिलेटेड हैं. For example, problems in the education sector or problems in the health sector. These are the questions that you should know of. आपके पास होना चाहिए इस पे information. Or maybe any recent scheme or any recent law or any recent bill. तो हल्का बेसिक GS आप देख सकते हैं. बहुत ज़्यादा ओवरबोर्ड नहीं होना है, बट एक बार हल्का सा ब्रश अप कर ले तो आई थिंक इट विल गिव यू कॉन्फिडेंस ऑल्सो, और थोड़ा आपके आंसर्स में सब्सटेंस भी आए. नाउ द लास्ट क्वेश्चन इज दैट हाउ टू नॉट गेट नर्वस ड्यूरिंग द इंटरव्यू. सी, it is really tough to not get nervous during the interview, especially if it's your first interview. Even I was very nervous, and it's just that आपको बार बार अपने आप को रिमाइंड करना होगा कि जो आपने मेहनत की है, जो प्रिपरेशन की है, that is really good, and you're a great candidate and you're going to get through, and like have that confidence in yourself. That is one. The second thing I'd say that despite of being nervous, एक थोड़ा practical approach रखिए. आप जब वहाँ बैठे हो तो आप थोड़ा मन में रिवाइज करिए कि when you have to go inside, you have to wish good morning so that you don't forget it. Or for example, I was the last to go. तो जब मैं last to go थी तो एक क्वेश्चन मेरे दिमाग में immediately आया कि they can ask me, Apala, you're the last person. What are the advantages and disadvantages of being the last? So मैं अपने दिमाग में उसका आंसर प्रिपेयर कर रही थी कि अगर बाई चांस ये पूछ लिया, सो आई शुड बी प्रिपेयर्ड विथ एन आंसर. सेकेंडली, आई वॉज reiterating my interview inside my head, my introduction inside my head again and again, so that I don't fumble if they ask me introduce yourself. तो जो first few lines हैं वो मुझे एकदम it was learnt by heart so that I don't mess up. So ये एक दो चीज़ें करने से आपका brain occupied रहेगा, and even if you are nervous, you will not mess up anything. And I think this is all that I'd like to say. The last thing that I'd like to say is that one thing that worked for me in the interview was having a very calm outlook and having a very polite approach and having a humble approach. So I think if there are 2-3 things that you need to start practicing, it should be these things. Other than that, focus on your content and make your content rich, and that should do. Thank you so much and all the best.